A.B. Collins, board certified emergency physician. Been practicing 21 years.
Perfect. How did you first become interested?
In medicine?
Sure. Or your specific career, either one.
Actually, when I was a kid, my mom worked in an emergency department. And in order to get home, I had to find a way to get to her work so that I could get a ride home from her. So I always took the bus to the ER, would hang out there as a kid, and got to know physicians, PAs, nurses, techs, registration. So I kind of had an insight into what emergency medicine was for a 12-year-old kid. And that did not resurface until my senior year in college. When I was in my 4th year of residency, I used to tell kids that I saw that I'm in 24th grade. And it probably wasn't a very wise thing for me to do, because they would always ask, oh man, how long does it take to go to school or to be a doctor? And it maybe deflated a lot of little kids, but it just gave them some sort of perspective. Physician, all kinds of personalities. Emergency physician, I think it's important to have sort of a steady keel. You go into work every day never knowing what's going to come in the door, and you cannot be overwhelmed by it. Otherwise, your ability to function in your game is diminished. So you can't freak out that there are too many patients. You can't freak out that there's too many of the wrong patients. You have to sort of be able to accept and adapt and work in a dynamic environment that can explode at any minute. Typical starting salary, it's kind of regional. Even there's a big difference between Colorado Springs and Denver, a pretty big difference. Some people get paid by the hour, some people get paid by salary, some people get paid by relative value units, meaning the more you work, the more you make. So you can kind of navigate through that based on your style and your ability to see a lot of patients, or your ability to spend more time with patients. The actual number varies from, I don't know, maybe $300,000 a year to upwards of $1 million, depending on where you work. If you want to work in maybe rural Texas, you can probably make a lot more money than living in Denver. I probably work 35 hours a week, 35 to 40 hours a week, 10 to 12 hour shifts, varying from 4 in the morning till 4, starting at 4 at night. The personality of people in the ER is very different than the OR or the ICU. It sort of weeds out people who cannot tolerate stress. It's can be a very high stress environment, and you have to be able to adapt and tolerate that and work in a very stressful environment and be productive. You can't let the stress of it sort of overwhelm you and stop you in your tracks. You constantly have to keep moving, juggling very sick patients to not very sick patients. There are, we see 100,000 people in our ER, and there are anywhere from 5 or 6 docs working at the same time, 4 or 5 APPs, advanced practice providers. A typical day is like anybody else who goes to work, except you walk in and you don't know what's going to happen. It could be a slow day. It could be the craziest day you've ever had in medicine, and every day you walk into the unknown. It's sort of the same thing. You're taking care of patients, treating people, and finding, their disposition, either admission or discharge home. but the volume and the severity is unknown when you walk in the door. The benefits of not specifically medicine, but emergency medicine, which is different than a lot of other specialties, is that I show up for work, and when my shift is over, I'm done. I don't have call in the way like a surgeon does, or family practice, or an obstetrician. I don't have office hours. It's when I show up for work, it's game on, and when my shift is over, it's game off. And it works really well with certain personalities. A lot of other physicians, like surgeons for instance, they love operating. They don't love following up on their patients in the office, because it's the energy level is completely different than in a trauma situation, or taking out somebody's appendix. They live for those moments. My job is sort of an even keel level of chaos. But then I turn it on, turn it off, and I come home, and I don't have to worry about getting pages or phone calls about something happening at work. When I'm off work, I'm here and involved in the family. And I don't have to worry about any sort of work-related distractions.
Yeah. And are there any specific challenges that you've encountered?
Emergency medicine is 24/7, 365. There's no way around it. Some people, I'm fine with working Monday, Thursday, Friday this week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and next week. That's just the nature of our business. Some people couldn't tolerate that, working 4 a.m. one day and noon the next day. It sort of messes with your circadian rhythm if you move around. Most of us kind of either work days or work nights. Some practices, some specialties only work days, and that fits their lifestyle perfectly. And I might be bored in that. So the variety, constant variety of diversity of patients, and the constant variety of when do I work tomorrow. Some people might find that frustrating. It's my life. It's easy squeezy, and I understand it, and we thrive in it. I think it's very compatible to my lifestyle and our family. Then again, I don't know what day it is. What day is today? Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Thursday. Last week I worked Thursday. Next week I work Thursday. 2 weeks from now I don't work Thursday. We've been able to adapt our family to my schedule. Sometimes Dad's going to be there. Most of the time he is, because I only work 35, 40 hours a week. I don't put in 60, 80 hours anymore, but back in residency, that was kind of the norm. But I think it works out fantastically for me and our family. Love more than any other?
Or enjoy?
A lot of what we do in the emergency department is sort of primary care. You really don't need to be in the emergency department today, sir or madam. You don't tell them that, but you know that they don't have a regular doctor, and I'm their regular doctor, which isn't the best medicine for them. It's certainly not the cheapest medicine for them, but if they don't have any place else to go, I'm it. The best part is of that, having to deal with really critical sick patients, is affecting change in their progression towards, everyone's progressing towards death. Some people are going a lot faster than others. Like yesterday, I took care of somebody who had missed dialysis. They don't have, their kidney function is gone, so they have to go 3 days a week to dialysis and sit there for 3 to 4 hours and next to a machine that acts like their kidneys. And if you miss those, your electrolytes get out of balance. And there's some really significant complications from missing. And I took care of a guy yesterday who had missed a few days of dialysis, so he hadn't had dialysis in over a week, and his electrolytes were so bad that his heart was starting to just stop. And we caught him right before, and if he would have, maybe a few hours, he was going to live if he hadn't have called 911. And just very slowly we were able to get his heart rhythm back to normal and his electrolytes balanced. So when you sort of redirect the trajectory of somebody's life, it's actually very rewarding. It doesn't happen every day, but when it does, it sort of keeps you going for quite a while. Not very much. The medicine part, not very much. The future of medicine in America is going to continue to change. There's going to be a lot more government oversight, which changes the way you sort of do things. You're sort of mandated more and more to apply a different therapy than you think is maybe best for your patient, because that's not available. There will always be people who refuse to take care of themselves, and they're going to end up in the ER. There's always people who are going to abuse drugs and alcohol and put themselves in very risky situations, and they're going to keep us busy. That will never change. Stupid will never change. There's plenty of that out there. And there's also, unfortunately, more and more people who don't want to take personal responsibility for their health. They want someone else to do that. What medicine do I need? What surgery can I have? Rather than, I think I wouldn't be out of a job if people ate better, exercised more, had a balanced diet, like eating better, stop smoking, alcohol in moderation. If they did all those things, I wouldn't be out of a job, because there's still plenty of stupid things going on, but it would improve their health and their requirements for emergent care. It's a really good question, because when I decided to go into medicine, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Almost the day that someone said, hey, we're going to go take our MCATs. This is the admission test for medical school in a month or so. And I thought I'd go try that. And it kind of worked out. And I knew that if I was going to go down this path, I was going to be sitting in this chair. I didn't want to do anything else, which may be a little restrictive, but the more I sort of found out how things worked in medicine, the more sense it made for me to end up as an emergency physician. It'd be hard to say exactly what you would tell somebody thinking about medicine, because there's so much, depending where you meet them in their sort of path in life, there's so many things that could change. You know, a lot of people go into secondary education, or they go into college and they decide halfway through first day in college, first day in medical school, that this is not for me. I made a mistake, or I find nothing interesting about this, so they change things. So if you said to someone such as yourself, you know, if you were thinking of medicine, there's so much exposure you need before you could say that's what you're going to do.